Uh-oh. Zorro. What's happening, Zorro?
Hey, is this the Sith Supremacist Star Wars show?
This is the Supremacist Star Wars show. What's happening, man?
I've been watching. There's a lot of crap about Solo going on. It's kind of funny and tragic at the same
I
time.
haven't seen that. I haven't seen Solo. Don't give me any. Don't give me any. I didn't even know Solo was out. Is it any good?
I've heard most people say it's crap. So
I wonder if it's crap because
judgment.
people are stuck with this idea of Harrison. What's his name? Like looking at it as crap in the same way I looked at the first Star Trek as being crap when it came back out. And it's like, man, that guy's not Captain Kirk. Fuck that guy. That type of stuff.
Well, they make it out to be. This isn't what I call it, but they make it out to be that Han Solo is supposed to be a much more independent and adventurous character, and he looks kind of like a klutz in the movie or something. And then there's a lot of stuff about social justice in there, so none of the hardcore fans care about it. But I was just trolling the opening. So
I have to check it. I mean, you might have been trolling in the opening, but I actually want to see them. I actually want to see them.
Yeah. There's a lot of videos going on about it. I know you deal mostly with politics, but wanted to say two things. First, Wednesday night, Hard Bastard is supposed to interview the people from the Mattis file, and we'll probably be discussing as well the undercover video.
Holy shit! No way. Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Wait,
11 Eastern time.
Okay, 11 Eastern. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out. That should be awesome.
Second of all, that interview last week with Abby Martin, man. After it was done, I felt like I needed to go snort some refrigerant or something. Just I can't stand her. I honestly, you know, Jamarl. I try to be fair with you. I honestly, to the depth of my soul, I hate her.
Wait. But, so wait. So what? Why did you feel like you need to go commit suicide after? Well, I'm assuming suicide. Seeing as you talking about snorting refrigerator or something like that.
No, you can survive it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I didn't know you could survive it. But what was the thing that got you saying, you know what, I need to go snort refrigerator fluid?
Because Abby Martin, in my opinion, and I understand you have a political slant and I have a political slant. She is not a journalist. She's an emotional, Stay Puft Marshmallow woman. She's basically every story that she puts out, she cannot hide any of her biases. She also works for a TV station that's basically covering up one of the greatest disgraces of the world. I've actually got
the Israeli conflict.
I've made what's that?
I said an Israeli conflict that nobody's paying attention to. Go ahead. I know you're talking about Venezuela. Go ahead. Keep going. I don't want to hit you in the knees. Go ahead. I know you're talking about Venezuela.
I get it.
Wait. Hold on. Tell us, sir, is the organization that she works for, and tell us, sir, is, if I'm not mistaken, mostly Venezuelan news agency. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're making the point that her organization, her news organization, is trying to cover up what's taking place in Venezuela.
Absolutely.
Okay. Keep going. Is that why you're sniffing
to you, but
refrigerant?
Well, I've had on my show several times for hours actual Venezuelans who have talked about what's going on in her country. Mm-hmm. It's completely contrary to what she's been saying. And these aren't people who are, what she would call far-right racist trolls. They're not. First of all, she made the implication that they lynch African Americans there. Jamarl, look at the demographics of Venezuela. In fact, I'll pull them up. But they're not white people over there. Okay. They're not lynching people on racist grounds over there. They are doing the what do you call them? The warimbas. Sure, they are violent demonstrations, but if you listen to her actual statements when it comes to Venezuela, and then you go to halfway around the world to Palestine, it's the complete opposite perspective. In Venezuela, people aren't allowed to demonstrate violently because they're white supremacist or they're ultra-right. That's what she calls them. You go halfway around the world, she calls for violent resistance. So how do you reconcile the two? Okay,
well, reconcile the two between Venezuela. Okay, let's split those up because Venezuela is somewhat different than what's taking place in Palestine. And in Venezuela, is it fair to say that there's a certain part of the population that doesn't necessarily like the Maduro government, and there's a certain part of the population that does. Is that fair? I mean, you have protests, they have elections and everything else, and you have certain people who protest that are in certain demographics of the economic scale that hate that government. Is that fair?
I don't think that that's where it even begins. If you're willing to concede that there are people who oppose the Maduro government,
of course, there are people who oppose any government.
Right, but why did he have to defang his parliament, the National Assembly? Why did he have to basically cut the legs out of them, form a new constitutional assembly? Chavez, he implemented a new constitution only about, I think it was in 2001, if not in 1999. So now they need a new constitution suddenly because they lost the election.
But they didn't lose the election.
They lost the National Assembly election. It's a fact.
Oh, I see what you mean. You're not talking about the recent election that just took place.
Not the recent election.
Okay,
the recent election was a fraud.
The recent election? How do you know the recent election was a fraud?
Not even the Carter Center would certify it.
I guess what I'm getting at is, how do you know that the recent election was a fraud?
How are we supposed to know if all monitors pull out and so much of the population has fled over to Brazil and to Colombia? Is that really a fair election when you have the largest refugee crisis in peacetime happening, and then you want to call that a fair election, Jamarl?
Wait. Don't misunderstand me. My goal in this is not to defend or to block for Venezuela. That's not my job at all.
But it is her job. You understand that. It's not your job, but it is her job.
It is not her job. It is her perspective. It is a difference in those things. I mean, I understand that there are some people in Venezuela who hate the Maduro government. Fair enough. It is fair to say that there's been economic sanctions, or you could say economic pressure being applied upon Venezuela. You can even make the point that says that there's certain corruption that's in the Maduro government. You can say all that stuff. That's fair. But is it a complete story of what's taking place from the standpoint of Venezuela? If you had
I have been covering the complete story.
If you had a string of right wingers on your show for Venezuela, and you may say no, they're not far right and everything else. It's like if I had Fox News and
are people that voted. The people that I have voted for Bernie Sanders since they came here. I can't understand why.
If I was on Fox
News,
them
on your show.
If I use Fox News as my main news source, I'm just giving an example, and I had one person after the next, and those people were Fox News types, I may get a certain perspective of the United States that's not necessarily indicative of the entirety of the United States. Abby Martin, is giving her perspective. Now, you may not like her perspective.
Her perspective is paid for by the government, okay? That's the same as, look, I'm not telling you not to read Telesur, but I'm also telling you that Telesur is basically the mouthpiece of a government that has driven so much of its population over to Colombia and to Brazil. You have doctors who are working as prostitutes right now. This is the largest peacetime refugee crisis in the world, and I'm not a pro-interventionist. I'm against the U.S. intervening in Venezuela. Some of these guys, they say, and these are socialist people, and they say it's gotten so bad that we want the U.S. to intervene in Venezuela. I said I'm not going to support a U.S. intervention.
There are a few people who look for ways to get the United States to do their dirty work for them. Yes, but again, is that indicative of the entirety of Venezuela? And the answer is no. Because
if 6% of the country is armed police and military, then that's the perspective that Abby Martin represents. She doesn't represent a true cross section of the Venezuelan people. She represents the actual Venezuelan government line.
No,
it's a fact.
So it's not a fact. It's something that you're quoting or saying. But it's a little bit different than saying she represents purely the government line of Venezuela. Those are very different things.
Okay, when have you seen her actually criticize anything that's going on with PDVSA right now? Did the word PDVSA come out of her mouth during your interview?
Does it need to?
PDVSA.
I guess what I'm getting at is... Wait. I guess what I'm getting at is Abby Martin has a certain... Abby Martin has a certain disposition and a certain perspective of what's taking place in Venezuela. The entire Western media...
One.
Well, the entire Western media
one.
has taken a skewed view of what is taking place, and she has pushed back on what the Western media has said, including going there and talking to some of the people who are there. Now, if the
Jamarl,
if the
can I ask you a
people
question about
who
Abby
you
Martin?
if the people who you talk to are a bunch of right wingers, then yeah, you're going to get a certain disposition of the government.
Wingers. They're not right wingers. That you're behaving right now just like the Democrats.
No,
you're behaving exactly like them.
No, I just
They're not right wingers.
I just disbelieve you. That's all.
Oh, okay,
I just disbelieve.
So,
like,
can I ask you a question?
Go for it. You can
Can
ask
I
me
ask
whatever
you
you
a
want.
question? Okay, so does Abby Martin, does she purport to represent a socialist / workers-based perspective on economics?
I have no idea.
Okay, what would you say her political beliefs are?
I have no idea.
You spoke to her for over an hour and a half.
Well, she's more to the left. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Okay, why hasn't she reported on the fact that at the oil ministry in Venezuela, and I have video of it, raw video, there were workers protesting in the cafeteria, and they sent in National Guard to beat the fuck out of them.
Okay.
Okay, so she never reported on it.
I guess I'm missing your point, dude. I don't understand your point.
No, the point is that she is the biggest fraud that there is. This is without even addressing the Israeli issue.
You think she's a mouthpiece?
She purports to be a human rights advocate.
Not to mention, I gotta be honest, dude. It's a little rich that you're making this argument about something that's taking place in Venezuela. The same argument can be used about what's taking place in Israel right now. I mean, this is amazing argument that you're making here.
So then where is her moral standing to comment on?
Where is yours? Where's yours?
What do you mean, where is mine?
Where is
yours? The Israeli government.
Where's yours?
She works for the Venezuelan government.
I'm making this point. No. I'm making this point. You've made the argument. Wait. You've made the argument earlier that it didn't matter.
Has the word Nicaragua come out of your mouth since in the past 2 months?
You've made the argument.
Over 130 people were killed there.
You've made the argument earlier that it didn't matter what took place to the Palestinians because they lost the war. That's what your argument. So how on earth with the moral depravity associated with the arguments that you've made from the standpoint of protecting Israel, are you going to say anything about Venezuela? I mean, I find that rich to be coming out of your mouth.
Peacetime. Are people supposed to be shot in peacetime, Jamarl? Answer that question. Are people supposed to be shot in peacetime? Are people supposed to get beaten in the cafeteria of their workplace in peacetime by National Guard?
Outright.
Is the national oil industry supposed to be controlled by an army general who basically militarizes the entire industry? Is that a peacetime thing? Answer that question.
You guys gas
Is the government supposed to be saying that it's fighting an economic war? That's not a peacetime thing.
I don't understand how you're making this argument with this blind spot about what your country has been doing. I find this to be amazing.
Is this my blind spot or is this Abby's blind spot?
No.
I don't work for the Israeli government. I work for me.
You may work for you, but you certainly have a certain disposition where you don't give two shits about what the Israeli government do to the Palestinians. And then you're making this argument about the Venezuelans as if you care so much about the Venezuelans.
I do report on what happens in Israel and Palestine, and I report on what happens in Venezuela, and I report on what happens in Nicaragua, which you don't.
Yeah, I guess the point that I'm making to you is
what you're trying to say is that you can't. You're trying to liken it to somebody trying to watch porn and play PlayStation at the same time. Like you can't do both things.
No, what I'm making.
You are.
You can watch. You're watching porn and playing video games at the same time.
Yeah, you can't do it. Think about it.
Have you tried?
You only have 2 hands.
Okay.
And you need one controller.
Well, maybe your skills aren't that adept. I guess I'm joking on that. I guess I'm making a
bad visual. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a bad visual. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to go there.
Look what I'm trying to say. Okay, there were over 130 people killed in Nicaragua over the past month and a half.
Okay.
And you didn't report a single incident of that. Nothing. And I've been watching your show. Nothing. That's more people than were killed in Palestine. Okay, so this is where the moral equivalence is on it. I do give my opinion on all of these incidents, but you focus on one of them. Where's the Where's the love, bro? Where's the love for the Nicaragua?
On one of them. What are you talking about? I focus on the things that my country has a very distinct interest in, and we're giving your country.
Nicaragua, you don't think that there could be a refugee crisis from Nicaragua?
We are giving your country billions of dollars. Do you understand that? Billions of dollars. You guys have nuclear weapons, and you guys are murdering people left and right. That's us giving you that. Wait. That's us giving you that. My interest in this is because my country is getting involved in affairs that are taking place in the Middle East. And we're taking a huge amount of blowback for the shit that's taking place in this regard.
Maybe I haven't told you, but on my show, I always make it clear. I oppose foreign aid to any country, okay? So on that, I'll agree with you. I don't believe in foreign aid
whether
to the
you
Egyptians
believe in it or not, it's taking
Arabians.
place. But you're missing my point. You're asking me, why don't I focus on Nicaragua? Or where's the love for all this other stuff? My focus is on the things that the United States has a discrete interest in. And I have a discrete
interest in every one of these conflicts. Are you aware what's happening in Morocco right now?
The United States no. We are not giving Morocco billions of dollars. We are not propping up their military system. We are giving.
How much is an acceptable sum? How much is an acceptable sum then?
Let me ask you this. Do you believe that the United States and Israel have somewhat of a special relationship from the standpoint of other countries?
Yes, I do. I think it's
then
also
if you believe that there is
one.
somewhat of a discrete and special relationship between those two countries, why are you bringing up the other countries as if those things are equal? They're not.
They are equal.
No, you're bringing them up because you're looking for something, some kind of flack to throw up because you don't want to deal with the reality of what's taking place in that country.
There are more refugees fleeing from Venezuela just in the past year and a half.
Well, they can't flee from Palestine because they're stuck in a goddamn box in an open air ghetto. So there's that.
Yeah,
and I understand that Egypt is also blocking them on one of the sides.
You refuse to accept the fact that this is an armed conflict, okay? And
yeah, one side is rocks.
Not.
One side is rocks. The other side is nuclear missiles and tanks. Armed conflict. It's not an armed conflict.
It is an armed conflict.
You are occupying somebody else's territory. If you're talking about armed, yeah, you guys are armed to the teeth in a large part because of us. This is kind of my point that I'm trying to make to you.
Jamarl, when a country loses a war, what do you think happens? Do you think they get everything back that they lost?
Right here. See, right there. If you're making the argument that you can do whatever you want just because you win a war, then you can't complain to me about this kind of moral equivalent stuff. At the end of the day, what you care about is domination of that region. You don't care.
Venezuela that's causing
care
outbreaks now.
You don't care about the Palestinian issues.
You don't care. And you don't care about the Nicaraguan issue.
Well, I care about the fact that you guys shot somebody in the chest that was a medic. I care that you guys shot 2,000 people with sniper rifles. I care that you guys murdered like 200 people. I care that you guys gassed the baby. I care that over 2,000 people were murdered and 80% of them were civilians. I care that you guys were using dumb bombs in areas that were small and isolated.
Really? At my count, it's only about 100. I think it's 110 people. 200 people, 2,000 people killed?
No, I just said 2,000 people injured. I said in the prior conflict, there were over 2,200 with 80% of those people being civilians. I'm making the point to you that my interest in the Israeli thing has more to do with the fact that there's a special relationship between the United States and Israel. That is not a special relationship between the United States and these other countries that you're throwing up to kind of make flack about. And you're making this argument.
Sure, but China has a special relationship with Venezuela. You don't care about Chinese influence in Venezuela?
No, I don't.
You don't care about the fact that Venezuela is basically owned by China now?
No, I don't.
Owned by Russia too?
I don't.
And I'm not saying this because I want a war with China.
No, I don't.
Okay,
those are not in my purview.
So you don't care that this country, you don't believe that these people are going to reach our shores as refugees as well?
No.
Because they have. Go to Doral, Florida. See how many people there speak Spanish, and they're from Venezuela. It's all because of what you're talking about. It's all because of assholes like Abby Martin.
It's besides the point, dude.
It is the point.
No, it's besides
because
the
you're
point.
saying that you're saying that your principle is that if you're involved in a country by giving foreign aid, that you're opposed to that. Fair enough. I'm also opposed to that.
I'm not opposed to foreign aid. No. You're misunderstanding me. I'm not opposed to foreign aid. I am opposed to foreign aid when there is an open air ghetto and you're stealing people's land and breaking international law. That's what I'm opposed to. I'm opposed to when you're giving billions
has armed
of dollars.
militants running around shooting people Just in March, the Hamas executed 3 people. Okay?
You can always leave.
So what kind of ghetto has people running around with automatic weapons, with rockets?
Leave.
What?
Just leave. I mean, if you leave, you don't have to worry about them running around trying to take their land back. You understand?
Who has to leave? Who are you talking about?
I'm making a point to you that you are militarily occupying somebody else's territory, and you are bitching and complaining.
I was there. I was there in 2004.
And you are complaining. And you are complaining that they are pissed off about the fact that you are militarily occupying their territory.
They are not occupying the Gaza Strip. If they were occupying the Gaza Strip, then there would be no demonstrations on the fence. You obviously don't understand the meaning of the word occupy.
What are you talking about?
In order to occupy something, you have to have a presence there.
No, you don't.
You can call it a siege if you want, but that's not an occupation.
No, you don't. Have you ever played chess?
Yeah.
Do you know you can have influence on a square without having a piece on the square? I mean, you control the land, you control the sea, you control the air. That is literally an occupation.
Occupation definition.
You don't know the definition of occupation?
Action, state, or period of occupying or being occupied by military force. The land over there is not occupied by the Israelis.
What are you talking about? You guys are putting people in prison left and right. You're putting kids in prison left and right.
The Gaza Strip.
I've been there.
What?
You have a military presence.
I've been there too.
You have a military presence in that part of the world, in that region of the world, and you control, for the most part, the Palestinian landmass. You control their air, you control their water, and at any time you want, you guys drop bombs and missiles and air, all this stuff. You're acting as if this is some kind of conflict. You have tanks and missiles and planes and jets and bombs and nuclear missiles. Are you serious?
Not all conflict have symmetrical sides.
What I saw in this last conflict was over 2,000 people injured, over 100 dead, including dead babies, and there were no Israelis. Like, you can understand that this looks magnificently bad, and you're here screaming at the top of your lungs about all of these other your bleeding hearts about Venezuela.
The disparity is this: the Palestinians don't believe in protecting their population at all. They don't give a fuck. They don't.
Nonsense.
That's why that's why a kid was gassed in a tent, because they brought the kid to a fucking protest tent.
That's called nonsense.
Well, when have you brought an infant to a protest tent where people roll burning tires to the border? Is it?
You understand that the baby that was gassed wasn't on the front lines? You understand that, right? You understand that? I mean, you get that.
You understand that that's the tent. The tent is where everybody's organizing in order to get at the fence too.
You gassed.
Okay, and also you can't see into the tent. How are people supposed to know there's a fucking baby in the tent?
That dangerous baby. Hey, how about not gassing it? How about that? How about that? How about not just gassing something where you don't know what the hell is in it? How about that? How about not shooting people with medical things on their shirt? Or how about not shooting people with press on their shirt?
How can you say the same thing? You said Alex Jones last week. You criticized him for having a son and chasing after Bernie Sanders. Where's it? This is the double standard with you, buddy.
No, it's not.
You know,
Alex Jones is dragging his kid from pillar to post.
Alex Jones' kid wasn't even with him.
Alex Jones' kid was with him. Do you realize that the mom of that kid said, "Oh my God, he's been dragging my kid from point A to point B with this stuff, and he's been influencing my kid with the stuff that's been taking place"? Now you can say the mom is lying. That happens
in a divorce trial. That's not even what you're saying.
That wasn't a divorce trial. That was an update to the article on The Guardian. Read the article.
Jamarl, you're saying that you know the story with the baby in the tent. The uncle brought it to the tent. Her to the tent. What the fuck is the thinking behind that?
You guys gassed
think about that. Do you realize how stupid of a person you have to be to bring a baby to a protest tent?
Why did you guys shoot the Canadian doctor? You guys were using snipers, meaning the snipers could see exactly who they were shooting, and they were shooting in the legs, knees, and the head. Why were they shooting people with medical or press on their shirts?
If they wanted to kill more people, why didn't they just mortar the fucking entire crowd?
No. I'm asking you. I think they were killing people and injuring people as a deterrent, and to put terror into the crowd. That's what I think. And according to you, it doesn't really matter because they lost.
You did see that video. I did tweet to you that video of the Hamas official admitting that 50 of the 62 casualties were their own militant members. You did see that, right? I did tweet it to you.
Hamas
that was from their TV station.
And also, you understand that
That was from their
Hamas won
TV
the.
station,
Wait.
Jamarl.
You understand
okay,
that
so they
Hamas.
take credit for it, and then
You
then
understand
make excuses for them,
Hamas
Jamarl.
won the
This is
election.
the same thing you do with Venezuela. This is the same thing you do with Abby Martin. It's always when it's America's fault, it's America's fault. When it's Venezuela's fault, it's America's fault. When it's Israel's fault, it's Israel's fault.
I
When
never
it's
said it
Israel's
was.
fault, it's America's fault.
What are you talking about? I never said it was
Either
America's fault for
they're responsible
Venezuela.
or they're not responsible.
I never said it was
And then
Venezuela.
you
America's
put out
fault.
you put out expressions like open air ghetto.
It is. It's an
You
open air
put out
ghetto.
expressions-
Literally open air ghetto.
No, there's no open air ghetto.
It's an
where
open
you
air
have
ghetto.
People running around in full military uniform, better gear than I had, drilling, doing massive demonstrations with banners. You know, that's not a ghetto, buddy.
Oh, the banners.
Okay, I've never seen a ghetto like
those
that.
those violent, vicious banners.
That's not what a ghetto is.
Those
That's not a
banners.
ghetto at all.
Those banners.
There's entire demonstrations. I have CDs that they used to distribute with their major demonstrations of all their people
So
in dress
what?
uniform. That's not
Whether
a
you
ghetto.
want to call it an open air
That's not a
ghetto,
ghetto.
whether you want to call it an apartheid state,
Go over
it's
to
the same.
Baltimore. Tell me where you see a ghetto that looks like that. Okay?
I have no idea what you're talking about. What I do
That's
know
not what a
is
ghetto looks like.
an open air ghetto,
In the ghetto,
or
the people
an
aren't
apartheid
armed to
state.
the teeth and drilling information.
What does drilling information have to do with the price of tea in China?
No, this is a well armed.
It's not.
This
It's
is
not.
a well
It's
armed
not.
military
It's
force.
not.
That's what Hamas
It's
is.
not. They were burning
It is.
tires. You guys have tanks and nuclear missiles. You want to call it asymmetrical warfare? Fair enough. But let's be
Okay,
honest.
so if they
One
have
side
tanks and
has a
nuclear
lot of people
missiles,
injured and
then how
killed.
come
The
they
other
don't-
side,
how come
not
they
so
don't
much.
How come they don't just detonate a dirty bomb? They can make nuclear fissionable material, detonate a dirty bomb there, kill
This is
70,000
nonsense.
people at
You're
a
talking
pop.
nonsense.
Why
You're
couldn't
talking
they do
nonsense.
that?
You're talking nonsense. You're
do you
saying
mean I'm
that the
talking
Palestinians
nonsense? You're
who
saying the goal is to kill
literally
people. It's
no.
much easier to
You're
kill
talking
people with
about
a dirty bomb.
Palestinians who literally
They could
barely
they could
have
poison the water
water.
supply.
They
How
barely
come
have
they won't
water.
do that? Answer that question.
They barely have
They
water,
have control of the
but
water
you're
supply.
saying they have fissionable material to create a dirty bomb. That's nonsense. That makes no sense.
No, I'm saying the
You
Israelis
honestly
do.
don't believe that, do you? That they
I'm
have
saying the
fissionable
Israelis
material.
do. The Israelis.
Yeah, the Israelis have nuclear bombs. Yes.
So if the Israelis have nuclear bombs and they wanted to kill more Palestinians, but they didn't want to use a nuclear weapon, they could just manufacture from nuclear fissionable material a dirty bomb and kill 70,000 people at a pop.
Is that what
Okay,
you guys?
why wouldn't they do
is that really
Instead,
what you
you're
guys
saying,
want to do?
What?
Is that really what? I mean, think about what you're saying.
No, you're saying that the goal is to kill more people, but if the goal is to kill more people, there's better ways to do that than putting snipers at the border and picking them off one by one as they come towards a fence.
I didn't say the
You're
goal
being,
was
you're being
to
ridiculous.
No, I didn't say the
If
goal was
these
to kill
are
more
real
people. I said the
demonstrations,
goal
if
was
these
to
are
put
spontaneous
terror.
Demonstrations. Answer this one.
I said the
if there's
goal. No, wait.
demonstrations,
I said
how
the
come
goal.
how come they occur every Friday?
I said the
every
goal
Friday
was to
about the
put
same
terror
time?
into the crowd. To
What?
put the fear of God into the crowd. That's what I said. I said they were trying to terrorize the crowd.
No, but you're saying that the goal is to kill more people.
No, I said the goal is to terrorize the crowd. I was being very specific.
Okay, then why is the crowd continuing to come towards the fence, cut the fence? try to
Because
get
you're
through, do
on
get
their
through?
land. You've stolen their
But-
land. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Jamal,
You
know how the
understand
law is.
that
Once-
even
once
in
you
occupied
penetrate
territory-
an international border,
You
you're
understand
fucked.
in occupied territory,
you did
even
this-
in Nazi Germany, in France, when Germany had taken that France, that you had maybe 10% of the population that would resist. About 10%. The majority of the population just kind of went along with what was taking place. But they still had a certain number of people that was pushing back and resisting. They believe it's their land. I can't, I understand.
Yeah, they
in
can
your
believe
mind-
whatever they want, but it's not the truth.
Oh, okay. Well, I disagree with you. I disagree with you.
The
So,
international
there's that.
community disagrees with you. The
international
negotiations
community
themselves
agrees with
disagree
me
you.
entirely. And they hate
No,
the
the
fact
international
if it wasn't
community-
for the United States, you guys would be condemned much or sooner. I mean, Obama
So you're
passed
trying
through
to,
that
you're trying to make the case on the
tepid-
one hand that because of the United States,
No,
Israel is able to do whatever the
Yes,
fuck it wants.
it
right?
is, yes.
But on the other hand, you're trying to say that the entire world is silent about Gaza when in fact China, which occupies part of India, which occupies Tibet, is on Palestine's side. Russia, which occupies Chechnya, is on
Yeah, but what do they
Palestine's
do about
side.
it? They don't do anything
you
about
don't
it.
care about those conflicts. It's not a matter of principle. It
They
has
don't do
nothing
anything
to do with
about it.
principle.
They don't do anything about it.
What?
The UN Security Council essentially prevents anything from being done about it. The United States always has a vote that protects Israel. Are you telling me that's
Right,
not
and whenever
true?
something happens in one of Russia's countries, whenever something happens in a country that's allied with
Are you
Russia,
telling
they
me that's
veto
not
that.
true?
It is true.
There you go. So
They
why
veto
are
every-
you
they-
complaining? Why are you arguing that it's not, that making
No,
this
you're
case
the
as if
one.
it's not?
You're the one who's consistently talked about Israel to the exclusion of Venezuela and Nicaragua. I'm not saying
Yes.
don't talk about
That's
Israel.
exactly right.
You can say
Because
whatever you want.
right, because
you can-
Israel
you
is
can-
the one, as you yourself said, has a special relationship with the United States. And I care about the fact that there's a special relationship with the United States, especially when it creates this kind of fervor all across the world at the behavior of Israel
So
that the
you don't
United
care
States
about
protects.
the special relationship between the United States and Pakistan, which occupies half of Kashmir?
Not
We
as
do
much,
send
no.
a ton of military aid to Pakistan. You've never protested against that. And they occupy half of Kashmir, which is part of India.
Okay, I'm missing your point.
Okay, so you don't give a fuck about that. So there, we're
I don't.
even.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, yeah, you don't. So okay.
I
So
care
there
about
you
the
go.
special relationship that we're
So
spending a
Pakistan
huge amount of money
can
on.
fuck people over. They can encourage terror attacks in India, murder hundreds of thousands of people within their own borders. In our war on terror, you know the pun.
Yeah.
But you don't give a fuck about that. But you give a fuck about what's happening in Palestine because of the special relationship. We have a special relationship with Pakistan too.
Not the same.
Don't be deceived by
It's
that.
not the same.
You don't do videos about Pakistan.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
No, it is
and
the
you know
same.
it's not the same.
It's not the same because it's worse.
No,
It's not the same
You're
because it's
bringing
much
up all
worse.
this other stuff because you don't want to deal with
Look
the
at
fact
the
of what's
casualty
taking place
numbers.
in
The
Israel.
casualty numbers in Pakistan are much higher. Much higher.
You don't want to do.
Much
So
higher.
wait. So are you
We've had
telling me that the quote unquote most moral military in the world is compared to the Pakistani military? Is that what you're telling
Pakistani
me?
military killed as many as 3 million people in 1971
Are
in
you
Bangladesh. We were
comparing the
allied with
Israeli
them.
military and the
3
Israeli
million
government
people.
to the Pakistani military?
Yes, I am.
Wow, that's sad. That's
So-
sad.
so-
because you're
So you
supposed
don't
it's
care
supposed
about
to
what's
be
happened in Bangladesh?
it's supposed to be a moral military, and yet you guys are killing people left and right.
No,
and
but
you're
where's
comparing
your
your
standing with
military to Pakistan.
That's my question. Pakistan
and
is
you're
a U.S. ally.
comparing
True
your
or false?
military to Pakistan in order to deflect from
True
the
or false? Is
for the stuff that you
Pakistan
guys
a
have been doing.
Is Pakistan a U.S. ally, and do we send them aid?
Yeah. Is there a special relationship between the United States and Israel? And why are you completely deflecting from the fact that Israel has been murdering people?
No,
and at what
because
point
you
did
focus-
Pakistan
I
and
focus on all of it,
Israel
and you focus
end up
on
being
one.
equals?
You don't talk about Pakistan ever.
Because I don't care.
Okay, Pakistan. Why don't you care about what's happening in Pakistan? Are those
I
people dying
care.
over there not as human as the Palestinians?
No, I care because we have a special relationship with Israel, especially with the amount of arms and weapons we're sending him. You can bring up
Who do you think
1,000
who arms
different
the Pakistani
countries.
government?
You can bring up
Who arms
1,000
the
different
Pakistani
countries.
government?
You can bring up 1,000 different countries.
Who arms the Pakistani government?
You guys are murdering people. You understand that?
Yeah, but
Do
Pakistan's
you understand
murdering people too,
that?
and you don't
You've
do
just
any, but you
murdered
don't
a
do any-
child. You murdered a 21-year-old who was a medic. And you're talking about the goddamn Pakistani military. You've just
the
murdered
Pakistani
a
military
lot
that
of
killed
people.
3 million Bangladeshis. You don't want to acknowledge that.
Your
You won't
country-
even say the word Bangladesh.
Your country has just murdered a lot of people. Deal
How
with
many
it.
people? 110 people? Yes, that's a tragedy.
Beyond,
okay?
wait. But
What
beyond
that-
the tragedy, I'm going to the moral argument that you're trying to make. You've made the argument
there
earlier
is
that
no
if you
moral
lose a
argument here
war,
when you won't
no.
talk about-
You said if you lose a war, then it's fair game. That's your comment. So why should I
Yeah.
give two shits, from your argument about this other stuff? I don't care about this other stuff at that point. You've made the argument that from a moral
but
depravity
you've never
standpoint
cared-
that you
you've
don't
never
care
cared about
what
happened
takes
in
place,
Pakistan.
what happened
There is a war
in
between
Palestine.
Pakistan and India.
I know.
Okay, so there you go.
But that's
So you
between
don't care about
Pakistan and
that.
India, and that's between two militaries. I'm talking about your country with an open-air
really?
ghetto and an apartheid
really? Do
state
you know how many
dropping
refugees
bombs
fled
into
from,
a small
fled from
box.
Pakistan? Do you know how many Hindus fled from Pakistan in order to get to India during the partition?
Do you know how many fled from
10 million.
from Palestine?
10 million.
Do you know how many fled
10
from
million
Palestine?
people. That was in the hundreds of thousands what happened in Palestine.
Again,
By the way,
I'm missing
my
this
grandparents,
issue. So
my
what?
grandparents
So what?
had to
So
flee
what?
from Iraq.
So what? So
My
what?
parents had to flee
So
from
what?
Iraq.
So what?
Okay?
So what?
They were Jews in Iraq.
So what?
They got kicked out by the
So
Iraqis. Am I asking for my home back?
So what? You said if you
so
lose
what?
a war, you lost.
So I'm supposed to give up my home in Baghdad?
I'm holding you by your own standard. If you don't care what takes place from the Palestinians.
You're talking about special relationship with Israel, and I'm talking about special relationship with Pakistan. What's the difference?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I am asking. What's the difference?
You're literally comparing supposedly the most moral military in the world to what the Pakistanis do. You've named like 20 other countries in order to deflect from the fact that you guys have been murdering and killing people in an open-air ghetto. Now,
so you're trying to claim that there's a different moral standard. There's a different moral standard for the Israelis as opposed to the Pakistanis. Are we clear on that?
No, there's not.
Yes.
The difference is there is a special relationship in the way that the United States has been giving weapons and munitions to Israel, even when Israel has been killing people in an open-air ghetto. You may not like that, but that is what it is. You can deflect and name all these. What about Venezuela? What about this place? What about that place?
What do you call Kashmir?
You are naming all of these different places purely to deflect from the fact that you guys have been out there murdering and having an open-air ghetto.
No, I'm naming places you don't give a shit about. I mean, that's why you're bothered about it.
I have no feelings about it.
Pakistan receives massive amounts of military aid from the United States, but you never talk about it.
I have no feelings about it at all.
Oh, you don't have any feelings about it because Abby Martin doesn't talk about it and because Jimmy Dore doesn't talk about it. He never talked about Pakistan.
No.
What?
I don't care about it because my influence, the thing that I care about is what this country does and what this country essentially backs. I don't like us doing drone bombing in those countries, nor do I like us sending aid to countries that have bad intent. Let's say it that way. But let's be honest, there is a difference in the way that the United States goes about its relationship with Israel as opposed to other countries. You yourself has even said there was a special relationship. Now you're trying to deflect and say that this relationship is not all that special because you don't like the outcome of this conversation. At the end of the day, and I'm going to end it on this. I'm going to let you get the last word, but you guys have an open-air ghetto, and you guys have been murdering people, and you guys have been doing this for a long time. An open-air ghetto with militants
running around with automatic weapons and full dress uniform. Yeah, that's the only one in the world.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead.
Fair enough. We'll leave it at that. I appreciate you calling in.
All right. Have a good night, man.
You too. Have a good one. All right. Hopefully he got his point across.